towing the start line and peak fitness for your race. In this training call, I'm going to be going over how to peak, when to peak, and what to do leading up to your race so you don't lose your fitness, right before the race, like through your taper. So if you're new to the group, I want to say welcome, and if you're watching the replay on YouTube, I'm Eric. I'm a USCO Ultra Running Certified Coach, and I love running, talking about running, and helping other runners like you become better runners. One of the ways I do this is by going live in the Facebook group every other Tuesday and doing a live training on a topic of interest or a question that I see pop up either on YouTube or in the group or any of the other social media outlets that I have out there. And so this is in response to a question that was on my YouTube channel asking about how do you know when you've peaked. And so I'm going to be going over peak training and all that in this training call, like how to peak, when to peak, and like I mentioned earlier, like how you don't lose your top peak training leading into your race. So if you are watching the replay on YouTube and you want to join in on this, visit my website on myendurance.com. Click on the blue button that says join the group, and you'll get an invitation to join the group. This is a private group to keep it safe because we have an awesome community, and people in here I think are getting a good experience out of it, and I just love helping runners and talking to runners. So that's why I do it. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the training. All right, how to peak. Okay, so peak training is a general term. It's a broad term. And in essence, what peak training means is that you are at your personal top fitness leading into the race, like standing at the start line race morning in the best shape that you can be in for the race that you've signed up for, knowing that you did everything physically that was that you needed to do leading up to it through all your training, but also you nailed your taper, because your taper plays a big role in your peak training, believe it or not. So peak training isn't just a long run, it isn't maximum volume, it is everything going through the end of your build, through your taper, and standing on the starting line for your race. Okay, so, and it's a tricky formula. Sometimes you nail it, sometimes you miss it. It's hard for the athlete to do, and it's hard for a coach to do also. So that's where a good relationship with yourself and with, if you are working with a coach, comes into play. And also, like, really paying attention to your body through your training, knowing that I might need an extra recovery day, or man, I'm busy right now, or I'm not eating well right now. I have a lot of parties that I'm attending, and that might negatively affect my training, which could also result in effectively your peak training performance too. So just a lot of factors that come into peaking. But I think, and I believe that if you follow the outline that I'm going to give in this training, that your chances of peaking are going to increase dramatically. So I'm going to use a 16-week training program for a 50K as an example on how to structure it, how to build the most volume for your training so you peak, and then I'm going to outline a good taper so you maintain fitness leading into your race. So and then also assuming that the hypothetical athlete that we are using as an example is not a new runner, doesn't have any limiting physical limitations or anything like that, and they have somewhat of a base leading into training for a 50K, because couch to 50K formula is not a good idea. So assuming that this is a pretty good runner, they've been running for a while, and now they're stepping up to run, let's say, their first 50K. So a typical training block for a 50K, and one of the ones that I design and that you can get on my website is going to look like this. It's going to be broken up into 3 blocks. Block 1 is base, building your aerobic or establishing or deepening or broadening your aerobic base. And then during this block 1, we are also going to be paying attention to like fundamentals, our running form, just everything to be a good efficient runner. That way when we lead into block 2, and block 1 I also want to note is a lot of easy runs. We're not doing any max effort training during block 1. So block 1 again is just to get you back in the flow if you took some time off, or just get your mindset ready around the next 2 blocks, which are the speed block and the endurance block. So block 2 is speed, or let's say just really extending the anaerobic base, because for ultra running or marathon running or anything like that, we don't necessarily need to use speed workouts to increase our anaerobic system. We can use hill repeats or other forms of cross training. The idea in block 2 is to really just get our heart pumping. Block 1 we use our focus on aerobic. Block 2 we are focused on anaerobic. We need to maximize both systems so we can get into block 3, which is the endurance block, which is going to be the main build, a lot of volume leading into the peak and also into the taper. Okay, so block 3, as I just mentioned, is the endurance block. This is where we're going to increase our volume, we're going to dial in our nutrition, and also simulate like race day scenarios, because part of peak training and like stepping up on race morning on that tow line or entering that corral has a lot to do with confidence. Even though your physical fitness might be where it needs to be, if you're not confident, it's really going to affect the way you run your race or enter your taper, thinking like, man, like, did I really do enough? And that head game can just make a good race or a bad race, and it really has a lot to do with how we enter block 3. So for 50K, the last 3 weeks prior to taper are what I really consider our peak training. Okay, this is where our volume has increased the most, and for a typical 50K, depending on the athlete, always have to remember every athlete's different, their demands are different, their capabilities are different, and what they can handle is different too, and really around their goals. If it's a person's first 50K or a person's 15th 50K where they're really trying to like run a fast one, is all going to depend on how the training plan is structured. But a typical, just generalized 50K training plan, peak training for volume is going to be around 9 to 10 hours for 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks leading into your taper. So the 4th week leading into taper is probably going to be a recovery week, so you can enter those last 3 weeks like fully recovered, ready to really get after it. And the longest run for a 50K on average is going to be 3 to 4 hours. And during that run, we're going to really focus on our nutrition, our hydration. I really emphasize and stress like using like a 5 or 6 mile loop that you can keep coming around to and simulate like an aid station for the race. So you can try different nutrition strategies. If you like real food, if you like gels, if you like gummies, or your hydration, you can switch it up. Try different electrolytes, all in the same run, so there's no variables leading into the race. And then I also recommend like looking ahead at the race organizers website and what they're going to be providing. What are they going to have at their aid station? What are they going to have as their fuel for their hydration? What electrolyte are they going to be using? Are you going to want to use theirs, or you're going to want to pack your own and carry your own in your bladder or a handheld? So these are all scenarios that you can use during your training to make just for your headspace, knowing that, okay, I got my nutrition dialed, I got my hydration dialed, I can rely on the aid station food, I can rely on the the volunteers to give me what I need because I practiced with it. So, like I said, the last 3 weeks are going to be about 9 to 10 hours of training, broken up, between short runs midweek with a long run on a Saturday or Sunday leading up to the race. So, now that we have done all the work, all the build, we've put in all the volume that we need leading into this 50K. How are we going to taper properly and correctly so we don't lose any fitness going into the race? Okay, so there's a couple different ways to taper. Rule of thumb is a 9-day taper seems to be the most effective for most people. 2-week taper seems to be like the most common, and then all the way some people can do up to like 21 days and still not lose fitness. So this all comes with trial and error. What works best for you? Typically, for a 50 miler, 100K, 100 miler, I like a 2-week taper. For anything shorter than that, 50K, marathon, half marathon, I stick to personally, and depend on the athlete, prescribe a 9-day taper. So what is a taper? A taper, in short, is just reduced volume, letting your body recover from everything that you put it through for the last 3 weeks. And if you nail your taper, you can expect, and this is all based on like lab results, and you can look it up if you want, but you're going to get a 3% gain in performance. Okay, 3% doesn't really sound like much, but it could be, if you're going for a PR, it could be a PR or missing your PR by 2 minutes or 30 seconds, depending on the length of the race. So that 3% can play a big role. But not only that, you're allowing your body to like heal from any like small like micro tears that you might have in your muscles, and also it gives you time to really just sleep, get rested, and then also wrap your head around the race. If there's you can map out your aid stations, you can map out logistics getting to and from the race, because all this, the less that we have to think about the couple days leading up to the race is going to allow us to have that good night's sleep. A lot of people don't sleep well the night before the race, and because they are second guessing their training, or like, man, am I going to be able to catch the shuttle in the morning? Did I remember to pack this? Did I remember to pack that? And this has a lot to do with your peak training. Just the confidence that you're going to have going into the race. So, also, I skipped over diet. So diet plays a huge role in your recovery and your peak training. If you're not recovering well, you can't expect to peak well either. So just because we're running a lot doesn't mean that we can eat everything out there. I know as runners, and I do it myself, I'm guilty of it too, that sometimes like after a hard run or a long run, I was just like, man, I want to reward myself, and I'm just going to go and eat whatever I want. And that can negatively affect our performance. So what I like to say is, we're people, I like to have fun. Don't let your diet like dictate your running experience. If this is a goal race, something that you've been working toward for 16 weeks, 24 weeks, those long, like you've been planning on this and dreaming about this for a long time, pay attention to your diet. Like, you don't want to screw it up just because you want to go out, and have a night on the town. If this is just a fun race, something that you've been, you want to do, but you want to go into it well, like, I say pay attention to your diet, but don't let it like really, take the fun out of it, because the more fun that we have, the better we are, we're gonna do. So, my battery's gonna die. I gotta wrap this up. So, if my battery dies before I jump off, leave a comment below. So, covered taper, covered diet. Last thing I really want to emphasize is just so on a 2-week taper, we're going to decrease volume by 50%. We're going to keep frequency the same. So if you're running 5 days a week, we're going to continue running 5 days a week, just at half the volume. So if you're running 2 hours on average per day, we're going to decrease it to 1 hour. And then the next week, we're going to decrease that by 50% again. So peak training, you're going to be at, say, 9 hours. You're going to decrease that to 4.5. Then week 2, you're going to decrease that to about 2.25, if the math is right. So you're really going to, decrease the volume that you're running, allowing yourself to keep moving, but also let your body heal, recover, and get a good night's sleep in. So I hope this helps. And again, if you want any more training, personalized training, please reach out, and by all means, comment below. My battery is on the very end. So again, thanks for those who tuned in, and I'll get back to you guys. Talk to you soon.